Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about drug interactions. Just a reminder, I am not a doctor, I am not a chemist, and I do not pretend to be either. This video is strictly for educational and entertainment purposes only, and I do not encourage the use of any substances, legal or illegal. I also want to preface this video with saying, this is not medical advice, this is just my opinion. So, I want to talk about the importance of drug interactions and knowing what you put in your body. So substances can have harsh interactions with one another. There are many different chemical compounds that interact with other chemical compounds. Obviously, there's the more logical ones where you take two of the same type of compound, like maybe you accidentally take two SSRIs at once, which would be dangerous because it could lead to serotonin syndrome, especially if they act on the same type of serotonin receptor. But you can get into more of the weeds if you do something like a St. John's wort with SSRI, or a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, because St. John's wort seems to have some sort of impact on serotonin in the brain. On its own, both of these seem to be great for helping with different mood disorders, but in conjunction, they could cause serotonin syndrome, which might land you in the hospital. It's important to know what different drugs interact with other drugs. And it's also important to know what supplements interact with different drugs. For example, if you take something like a caffeine and you have high blood pressure, or like you have a propensity towards high blood pressure, maybe it's genetic, and you're on a vasoconstrictor, maybe you happen to be on some sort of inhaler that is known to cause vasoconstriction, and you're on ephedrine for asthma. That's a lot of vasoconstriction, and that could lead to heart problems. That could lead to, even in the case of too much vasoconstriction, a blood clot or a heart attack or a stroke. These are things that people need to look out for, and I don't think they're expressed enough, especially because people tend to just look to their doctors too much. The fact of the matter is, it's important to do your own research. I'm not saying doctors don't know about this. Doctors have been heavily trained in this, and I think it's important for people to understand that they should listen to their doctors when their doctors are telling them do not take these compounds of other compounds and things like that, because it's really important to understand that drugs impact other drugs. It's just that simple. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if you take two in the same category, let's say you take two NSAIDs, let's say you take a large amount of aspirin and a large amount of Advil and a large amount of Aleve. That's dangerous. You don't want to do that because they're all technically in the same category. This is also why it's important to know what is entering your body. You also want to understand that certain drugs may not even be in the same class but will have drug interactions. This is just important for people to know. It also plays an extreme importance in supplements because a lot of people will take supplements thinking, well, it's not a drug, so it won't impact it, even though natural substances and synthetic substances can both have potent effects in the brain, body, and systems overall. So they can have interactions with one another, and this can play an extreme detriment to your health. You always have to be very careful. I mean, there's also the possibility of just tachycardia, for example. Let's say that you don't typically have any issues with about a cup of coffee worth of caffeine in the morning. So that'd be about 90 to 110 milligrams of caffeine in the morning. Now, your doctor prescribes you or recommends that you take ephedrine for your asthma. And they also give you a bronchodilation inhaler, and that is for emergency use only, and one that you take every morning that is a long-acting bronchodilator. That is a lot of vasoconstriction. It's important to know that all of that can impact, your blood flow. It can impact how much, your veins will literally constrict, vasoconstriction. But it also will play a role in your heart itself. So you may have had no problems from caffeine, maybe even caffeine and ephedrine, maybe even caffeine, ephedrine, and the short-acting bronchodilator. But as soon as you add in the long-acting bronchodilator, your system gets overflooded. And your heart just can't take it anymore, and you get tachycardia. Tachycardia is just a fancy way of saying really high heart rate, or too high for what you should normally have. So let's say your heart rate is normally 60, tachycardia, in a person who normally doesn't have it might be like 110. at a resting heart rate. So these are just important things to note. I just want to tell people this because a lot of people think, for example, supplements that contain caffeine and stuff are always healthy. They can have potent interactions with other substances, and that's important to note. But that is going to be it for today's video, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. Remember to keep those shoulders back and down when you lift. Please subscribe to my channel. Please give it a like. I will see everybody in the next one.